this TikToker, her name's Brielle, she got really, really emotional. She got her first 9-to-5 job after college. And she started to break down into tears when she realized you just can't do anything when you got a full-time job, apparently. She's not looking for solutions. She's just sad. So it says, woman breaks down into tears after first shift at 9-to-5 job. She says, quote, how do you have the time? Let's watch this video here. I'm going to refresh it and we'll watch it.
Being so dramatic and annoying. But this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, fucking duh! If I was able to walk to work, and it'd be fine, but I'm not. So it literally takes me, like, I leave here, like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till, like, 6:15 earliest, and then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. Oh my God. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9-to-5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine. But like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and like people that drive to the office, like you don't get off at 5. And I know it could be worse. I know I could be working longer, but like I literally get off, it's pitch black. Like I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like how do you have time to like meet like a guy? I don't know. Like how do you have time for like dating? Like I don't have time for anything, and I'm like so stressed out. And I'm also getting my period, so that's
to be fair, they say that this is why so many people end up meeting their spouses at work, right? Because you never have have time to go anywhere else. But it's just funny because it's an eternal struggle that I think all of us have felt at some point. But it's funny watching like a new generation of people then externalize it to the world.
Yeah.
Like normally you go home and you have those thoughts internally. You have your own intrusive thoughts about stuff like this. But also, we are in an age now where they grew up in a couple of years where like remote was a thing, and then they took remote working away from them. But look, like this isn't laziness. I don't think it's laziness.
No.
It's very easy to make the joke that it's because the person's lazy. It's that they don't understand that the world is not going to be an easy thing to figure out. Also, everyone wants to live in the city, right? She wants to live in the city, but you can't afford to live in the city.
Is this being labeled as like she doesn't want to work? Because that's not happening.
They're just shocked that these people that people don't understand that yes, your 9-to-5 job is going to take up a majority of your time, and it is kind of in a way a more wholesome alternative than the person who's like, I just don't want to work.
Yeah,
she's like, I don't have a problem with my job.
She didn't say. Well, she said a few things that I never thought, but she's saying a lot of things that I have thought several times, especially living and commuting in Chicago for over 10 years.
Yeah,
I was like, this is awful. You know, like this is the worst.
What was the average length of your commute?
I woke up every morning at like 5. It was like an hour and a half commute, even though I was not far at all. But like, it depended, because if I was taking a train or a bus, that majorly changed things, and traffic conditions changed day to day. But sometimes, I'd be gone for like 14 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah. So it's also the part that stuck with me the most was the part about not having time to work out. The thing is, if you like something a lot, you'll make time. You have to make time for it. Now, it might not be ideal. It might not be exactly what you want. But like for me, growing up, like would I have loved to have been able to skate every day without a job? Sure. But I had I had a job and I was working, but I also had sponsors and was putting out material for these companies I skate for. That means that there's eventually going to be times where you can't get everything done on the weekend. And I was skating 5 to 6 days a week, despite the fact that I also worked a regular job. Now that meant that I was either skating a lot late at night or I was skating before work. And I hated trying to do anything before work because I worked like 3 to 11 at that time or something like that, right? But if you want to do something, you'll find the time for it. You will make the time for it. It's the same argument people have about, like, she's like, I don't have time to cook my food. I'm like, you can. It's just going to take. Now that's not
okay. To interject on behalf of women have different cycles than men do. So men operate on a 24-hour cycle. Women operate on a 28-day cycle. So although I agree with what you're saying, if you care enough, you can push through it, you can do it, you have the energy to. But I think the wear on mental health can be more on women than men in that way. Not across the board, not always, not all men, not all women. And also, women working 9 to 5s is a new age thing.
In the last, 70, 80 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very new, like in terms of society.
That's not very long in the grand scheme.
No,
Yeah.
And this is what ended up happening with the wage gap, right? It was like they never take the hours into effect, right? Because men just tend to choose to work more hours. But it is funny to watch people kind of come to this realization, because you'd think that college would have done this to them too, because you still have to go through a lot to get through college. But most of the time, college is so expensive now that it's almost futile to work and go to college at the same time, because it's not.
I don't
like
know anybody that does in
it's
like
not
the
like
last
it's gonna
15,
pay for
20
it.
years.
It's not like
I
it's
knew
gonna
like
pay
one
for it.
person.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you help somebody in this type of situation? Because I like laughing. It's funny.
Yeah.
But like, how do you help some? I think you have to find a way to show someone, like, look, there has to be like creative workaround, and women are great at this. Like, this is what we've talked a lot about recent trends, like silent walking. Which is where
Yeah.
this woman was making these videos. She's like, I just go walk, like without a phone, without music, and it's just going for a walk, right? But women in the social media age are great at figuring things out and then labeling it trends. Like girl dinner. Girl dinner started because they were looking for a way to like cobble together dinner with whatever was in the fridge.
After working her 9 to 5 and
After
coming home when
working her
it's
9 to 5,
dark,
right?
and being really tired.
So what they need to do is she needs to find a social media trend that will help her find a way to, it'll be called like exhaustive exercise, where you work out,
Yoga.
but it's when you're tired.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need to start speaking to the next generation in terms of trends and labeled ideas, because if it doesn't have a labeled idea, if they're not shown through social media that it's possible, they won't be able to do it. Right?
Yes.
You have to give it a name. You're right.
Yeah. Like we'll call it like not poor exercise. It's where you go to work out after doing your job, right?
That will catch on quick.
I love it.
I love it.
Do you think what it is like we just have, with our phones in front of our faces now, we look for ways to externalize what we're experiencing in the world to everybody else, rather than just kind of keeping it in our own heads and thinking it to
Yes.
ourselves? Like you said, you've had plenty of those thoughts before on your own. You
Yeah.
just didn't know how to, like, there was just no reason to verbalize it.
Yeah, no. Well, no, you talk about it with your friends and be like, this sucks. But then you move
now
on.
they're- and
And
now
like,
they're
I would
sharing
call
it
that
on social
relatable
media.
content. And like, if you're like, yeah, I get it. And like, if you're somebody who is growing up now, you're not as exposed to that, like being your reality as you would have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. And like, you would kind of ease into it back then. But everything, I don't know. The entire way everything works now on an economic level is so weird that people coming out of college are not prepared.
No.
Where before
and it's
it was like,
designed to set. It's
Yeah.
setting them up to fail anyway.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Like, it's one of those things that I do feel like both sides of the aisle are closer on than they realize. Without realizing, they tend to just blame different people for
Yeah.
it. One side blames billionaires, and the other side blames the government and the Fed. Not realizing that it's a combination
It's a
of, all,
combination,
of
yeah.
all of those at the
Yeah.
same time,
It's
right?
crossover.
So but then what somebody will say, like, guys in this situation will say, okay, problem solve. The guys will say, like, okay, you can't do this thing. You want to do this thing. How will you make time to do this thing? This is also why social media is so beneficial so much more beneficial for women on a gendered basis, because women like to socialize and externalize these types of issues. Men, they don't see the same benefit in putting this out there.
and if they do, they're women.
Yeah. It's kind
Exactly.
of fascinating to see how different our
Joking.
responses were. You guys had the stereotypical guy response where it was like, just make more time. You like it, just do it. And I'm like, but you don't get it. We're on a 28-day hormonal cycle.
Yeah, I can't be held responsible for the fact that I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this leads to burnout probably more for women too. They burn out faster than men, and men burn out later, but tends to be
Yeah.
very severe.
Yeah, I would say later, but harder.
But way harder,
Yep,
right?
yep. And something I also- yeah,
all the
it-
ice cream in the world won't fix it for men. All of the Ben and Jerry's.
It'll
might
go
for
pretty
women.
far, actually. I don't know.
Might for women, you just eat a whole tub of ice cream and you're happy.
Is that what you do?
Me? No, that's not what I do, clearly. No, I'm kidding. I'm just not a big ice cream person, and I'm somewhat lactose intolerant.
I just find this way that like social media has allowed people to kind of externalize things that we've always kind of felt are true. Because I've had that, like everyone understands the idea of like it sucks when you get off work and it's dark out. Like because
Yeah.
I'm up here in the studio all day. So like it's kind of light out when I come up here, and when I get done with work for the day, I'm like it's pitch black out in the winter.
Yeah.
which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But that happens at like 5 o'clock in the wintertime.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because we get done with the show at about
Yeah,
5,
yeah.
and then we're doing like by the time I'm done with like editing and post, it's about 7 o'clock. I go downstairs and like, ugh.
Yeah. And you have no desire to go out, really.
Yeah.
That's like what I was going to say is that's an interesting point that I always knew but never really thought about is, and we kind of touched on this earlier, how hard it is for people to meet others, like single people of their age. And
Yeah, she
people
mentioned
get
that.
married.
She's like dating. It's
Yeah,
like,
and-
it's different. How's she supposed to meet
Well,
a guy?
How are you supposed to meet when both of you guys are working 40 hours a week?
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's the same schedule. Like, what if your schedules just don't
This
overlap?
is why dating apps have become more prominent, and why they're not even dating apps anymore. They're just hookup apps because nobody has the time to do that stuff. They're just looking for the base level of their needs, and that's it.
And this is how we end up with Snow White with no prince.
With no prince and no way, and there's no positive male role models.
We did it. We
And,
solved it.
and everything is screwed up. Yeah. In the next one,
Repeal the 19th Amendment.
in the next one, Snow White will be like on her phone. She's like, I don't have time to like. Yeah. Cinderella will be like, I do not have time to get in shape to go to the ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a proposal on behalf of all women. If we do not have to work 9 to 5s anymore, you can repeal the 19th.
Let's go.
Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
That's a deal.
It's
All
really
right.
funny. That's one of those things where it's like I have to remember when I re-enter polite society from time to time that you can't make jokes about repealing women's right to vote amongst normies, because I know that all the people that I know that say that statement seriously are women. So, and if I hear it from men, it tends to be joking. I can't really make those
Tends
jokes.
to be. It would be a good way.
I can't make those jokes around like normies without it getting a side eye, and then I'm like, oh, I'm kidding. I don't actually want to repeal women's rights to vote,
Yeah.
but I do know some women that do.
Yeah. You couldn't go to the grocery store and make that joke to someone without them being like, excuse me?
Well, that's too bad.
But here, you just expect people to know.
yeah,
They
like,
don't
get
know
the
what they don't know,
context.
though.
Yeah.
Do you think also part of it is like, look, she's not like when you externalize all your struggles on social media, it kind of removes your ability to have these conversations with your friends and actually build deeper friendships because you're doing it on social media where you're doing it to a bunch of strangers.
Well, that's the thing, too. She probably doesn't have time to hang out with her friends.
Oh, it's always excuses with these women. You hear this? She doesn't like. If you were her friend, how would you feel if she was like, "Oh my God, I want to see you. I love you. You're great, but I'm just so tired."
I'm so busy tonight.
Just
And
so-
she makes like 10 TikToks complaining.
Well, eating her girl dinner because she doesn't have time to cook, so she has to have her charcuterie board, and that's it.
Well, this is
Yeah.
why everyone's trying to make it as a TikToker.
But that's the funny thing too. You'll talk to social media people who are like, "Look, you don't understand. There's actual work that goes." I watched this great video the other day of this husband and wife that make these hilarious videos, and it's like his wife is angry, and it's done as like an MMORPG where it's like make her not angry anymore, and every time it goes to the male character, he's like doing the motions of like a character in pause. And the video didn't get made in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That video took days to make, edit, and add graphics to it. But because you're watching it on this and not a big screen TV, you feel like it gets made faster or that it's easier, and it's
Yeah.
not. So
Yeah.
a lot of work actually goes into all that stuff.
You are preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
brother.
Know what I'm saying, right?
Wesley gets it.
So is that what you're down for? You want to repeal the 19th, but then just not have to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fair trade.
Yeah. There you go. We'll work on that. We can solve all these relationship issues between men and women right here on this podcast.
That's what I'm here for.
My opinion on this changed as we did the segment because my initial instinct is to laugh at this stuff. It is. And then the more I
It's
watched it,
funny.
I'm like, look, her points aren't awful, but it is funny to hear it externalized. When
It is.
normally I would just be driving and thinking, it sucks that it's dark out.
Yeah. All
I
you
don't
can do is laugh at it, really. I mean,
And I've actually, like to me, when I was working before I moved out here, like when I got like when Tim found me to work out here, I was skating
Like a stray cat.
I was essentially like when he picked me up off the streets of Instagram, like I was skating twice a day, but I was only working 7 hours a day at that time, right? So I would go skate, I'd be done, and then I'd go skate again. Now here, I've only added, like I work about 10, 11 hours a day, but that ability to go skate is much like it's much harder to get the motivation to go do so. So I understand. Like I get what she's saying. Like if I work a full day, but a lot of times for me it's like my health is at risk. Like I was injured twice this summer, and that was because I had periods of time where I wasn't skating enough and my body just wasn't in the shape it needed to be in. So you have to make value judgments on what matters. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.